I'm
Right.
not going to tell you what's good by telling you this guy's crap. That's my personal approach.
Right. Oh, no,
I don't know. It
exactly.
just drives me
Yeah.
crazy.
Well, one thing I've learned with boxing in general is that, and it's helped me, I believe, be a more effective coach and mentor to coaches, but is that there are no absolutes, right? So it's an art for a reason. It's martial arts. And the term
Right.
sweet science is not a correct term. It's not a science.
Right.
It is an art form. And just like art, it operates in the realm of physics, right? If I'm going to freaking do a sculpture, I do have to like take into account gravity. If it just falls over, it's not really a sculpture. I mean, it's going to be on the ground. So same thing with this. And so that's where I used to make the rookie mistake of, absolute speaking, right? And also in my general life, which is a big challenge. But, to let people know, like, hey, if you do this type of thing, I'll give you an example. Let's say one of my guys coming along, well, and I had this experience too, but like, let's say one of my guys coming along only knows how to fight going forward, right? And they're like, well, man, that's what I do. And I do it well. And I win fights that way. And I'm like, well, hey, eventually you may come across somebody, and I can give them some examples that they would know of people that are going to be able to stand right there with you, and you need to maybe move, or maybe they're going to push you back, or they're going to have an answer for this specific thing that you're doing. And I want to properly prepare you as a coach so that you are ready to resolve that if it ever does come. And a great example of that recently over the past couple of years is Deontay Wilder. You know what I'm talking about?
I've heard the name.
Okay, so he was a heavyweight champion. He had a piece of the heavyweight title. He's out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Okay.
And he's a good guy, and he's he has a champion's heart, and he has a power of a champion. But the way Teddy Atlas would say, it's like he has a great eraser, right? So he has that power. So therefore, it's very easy for him as an athlete, and very easy, I think, for the people around him to try to tell him stuff. And he's like, well, I did knock him out, so what does it matter? So he literally was just knocking everybody out. And then finally he faces somebody like Tyson Fury that can take his best punch and come back. And now he has to actually fall back down on his boxing technique, which is not as much as it could be or should be at that level. And so that's where I'll use examples like that to help demonstrate to people. It's like, hey, look, dude, like, sure, you have a great this or great that or a great chin. But hey, man, Ali had a great chin. I don't want you to end up like Ali. I don't want you to rely on that. I want you to be like the guy, let's say Mayweather, or let's say even, just these different fighters, Sugar Ray Leonard, who they weren't just like, I'm going to rely on my jaw and my personal fortitude to take punishment. I'm going to rely on my athleticism, my technique, and everything else, so that you have that as a backup. That's your backup.
You have a 40-year career, right?
And well, and also, like, as a fighter, if I'm a fighter and I have great defense and offense, and if I'm tough, the toughness should be the last resort. It should be when something breaks through the castle walls, I have that reserve. But man, it shouldn't be my first thing of like, okay, let me like make sure I'm tough first, or let me rely on toughness and have no defense and everything else.
What a great analogy for business too.
Right.
It exists there too. I feel like so many people in business, they rely on that, right? They rely on the fact that like, well, I'll just stay up all night, or I'll just keep grinding. And it's like, yeah, that's good. You're going to need that. But also you need to be a little smart too. Like you need to study and you need to get ahead of that. Like if you're always in that position where you're always on your heels, staying up all night, crunching deadlines, like you're not doing something right.
Right. Well, and one way I like to say it, like you're saying with the work ethic portion or with the toughness portion in fighting, that is a requirement to show up to the party. Right.
Yeah.
Like you got to be driven. Like, you can have all the skills in business or all the knowledge. And if you're not driven and have work ethic, it's not worth anything. And same thing as a fighter, you can be in great shape and you can be tough, but you cannot have the skills to take you to the next level, and it's not going to be worth anything. Or you can have all the skills and not be driven and not be in conditioning, and that's worthless as well. So it's what's required to show up to the party.
No kidding. And you can't coach that.
Right. You cannot.
It's like, and now you see it. It's like there or it's not.
Right. It's there or it's not. And that's where it's like that one gentleman I was telling you about that, won the regional tournament.
Yeah.
he was telling me about his first time sparring back in 2020, and he never got punched in the face before. He played baseball. Yeah, he played
Yeah.
baseball. He's always been athletic, and
Yeah.
one thing interesting side note is that him being a smaller athlete, about 132 pounds, a lot of sports like baseball and football and basketball, he's way too small for. So that's what's cool about martial
Mm,
arts is it gives you a pathway to use
right.
your athleticism against your own weight class, of course, or people around your
Yeah,
size.
that's true.
Now, the second thing though is that he was telling me, yeah, so I didn't know, coach, if I was gonna be one of those people that cower when I get hit, right, and freeze up when I get hit, or if I'm one of those people that hit back. And he ended up being very much one of those type of people that just hit back automatically. And so that's what's so beautiful, like about martial arts, is you learn that about yourself. And then, like you said, it's not coachable. You can't coach it, but within somebody and within themselves, I think there is that possibility. So
Yeah.
I'll give you an example with myself. So when I started boxing as a 17 years of age,
Yeah.
I was a little bit of, I would take the punishment, but I wouldn't deliver it back. So I had to learn how to
Mm,
like like get it back,
like
versus
a
just
nice
okay.
fighter.
Right. So I just had this like attitude of like, oh, I'm going to stay here. I'm going to be immovable, but you are
Yeah.
going to get a lot of shots against me, and I'm not necessarily going to get you back quick enough. So like
Right.
kind of training that attitude. And then the last thing too, similar to what I talked about with the two types of personalities with, combat sports and boxing and everything else, I had to cultivate a little bit more of that killer, right? So
Mm,
I would hit somebody hard. I would work up to the point of it's like they're about to get knocked out. They're about to get stopped. But then I would kind of
yeah.
have this little back off, right? This turn off switch that we have as, modern, socialized humans, which is a good thing.
Right.